Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Wrenchy Podcast. I was going to go pull the U-joints off the 6.0 today because I'm pretty sure one of those is bad. And I had planned an episode for today, but that plan ended up falling through. But regardless, I wanted to give you guys an episode. So here we go. I'm so excited for today's episode because today's topic I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. Even before I had the podcast, I was like, this would be a great topic to talk about. Because honestly, I think it's one of those things that we all kind of in the back of our minds think about, but we never really want to talk about it because it's like, it's just one of those odd topics to talk about. So without further ado, today's topic is self-image. I got this idea a while back where I was thinking about how I like the idea of me building my personality in a way that makes other people think Eddie is solid. Eddie's resourceful. Eddie's kind of like smart in a way. Resourceful, useful. You can't always really control what comes out of somebody else's mouth, but we all know, okay. I want you guys to think for a second. I think I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I want you guys to think for a second. Think of somebody. Think of a Chris. Think of a Steve. Think of a Jasmine. Think of a Mario. Think of a Jane. Just think of a name. Just think of somebody. When you think of that person, what comes to your mind when this person or when this name is said? You get an idea. You get that person's bitter. That person's really nice. That person's really happy all the time. That person's really smart and resourceful. That person is terrible. They have a bad mindset. That person is abusive. That person's all right. Like, we get along. I don't have anything bad to say about them. I don't have anything good to say about them, but they're okay. I don't like that person. I do like that person. And I was thinking about this when I was trying to think of my self-image. It's like, no, I'm not chasing the validation, but what I am looking for is that when people say Eddie, when people are talking about me, or when I pop into somebody's mind, it's like, Eddie's solid for the most part. Like, mysterious in a way, but he's resourceful, he's smart. The one thing that you do know him by, he actually does know pretty well. I mean, that's what I want. Oh, I should have gone that way. That's what I want to build. Is not really, I can't control what people think about me. I can't control what people say about me, but I can try and control that perspective. That, like, when somebody brings me up, it's like, oh, I have a perspective of this person. If you give a wrong perspective, a wrong first impression, then obviously the perspective of you is going to be really not okay for the rest of the time that they know you, no matter how much you change. That's why millionaires say, move out of your hometown, because the people you grew up with know you as such a person, and they will always hold you as if you never change. And I've seen that firsthand. I grew up in a small town. My graduating high school class had a total of 36 people. For some people, that's a lot. For my town, that was the biggest class in like 10 years. And for some people, that's like, dude, that was just my class, like people that I went to class with. My whole graduating class was like thousands. And I get that because I've been to schools like that. But I've also ended up in a small school. That's where I graduated from. Either way, it doesn't matter if it's a small town, small school, or if it was a big city, big school. You gave an impression. Everybody's going to look at that person. When they say your name, they're going to think of that person. And we all have that about other people as well. When you think of a John, when you think of a Jane, when you think of a Hosea, a Maria, a Brian, a Jessica, either one name will come up to your mind and you'll think of the perspective that you know that person as. You will always, more or less, always treat that person the same way. Or you'll think of multiple people and multiple characters. But as you get older, you will always think of the person as the way you met them, or as the person you know them as. My idea is you have to build yourself to a character so that when people meet you, they think about you what you want them to. Again, we're not seeking validation. We are seeking to give somebody an impression so that in their head they have a character. So when they need something, when they need some service, when they need something from somebody, they know to go to you because you are that person for that. If you're a joke and you don't carry yourself with any respect, that's what's going to come to that person's mind, is like, you can't trust that person because they're either a liar, or that person, I don't care what they say. Like, I don't care for what they have to say. They don't take anything serious for themselves. So why would I consider anything that person tells me? So I don't care what that person has to say. Or if you're known for something, if you're known for photography, if you're known for business, if you're known for painting, if you're known for whatever, it's like, oh, I know a painter. Oh, I know a photographer. I know somebody that likes cars. I know somebody that owns businesses, or I know somebody that likes business. I know somebody that does sales. It's like, now when somebody starts talking about it, you pop into their mind as that category of person. And so it's hard to build that, but because it takes time. But you can change that. You can't change it from people that you knew growing up, and the people that, as you were developing your person as from a kid, like that's when the most change happens. And then you don't want to stay that. You don't want to stay what that person sees you as, and you don't want to stay around those people too long, because they will always see you as that. They will always belittle you. Like I said, I grew up in a small town, and so one of the things is that, so in this town, in this class of mine, he was in my class. There's this guy, and everybody knew him as a joke. Nobody took him serious for anything. He had a rough childhood, and so he tried his best to get along with everyone, but everybody always kind of took him as a joke because, not having parents there for you, obviously you're gonna try and seek that attention from somewhere else. And so that's the type of person he became, just an attention seeker. And so ended up being good and bad, because he was known, but also he was known not very respectably. Like, I wouldn't trade places with him, even though he's known by more people. And so growing up, he built his character different. He changed his life. He changed the way that he changed himself as a person, and he changed the trajectory of his life. And after he came back to his hometown, he realized that people still treated him the same. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years later, people still treat him the same as when they were in school. Now, why is that? Because the first impression, because from the very beginning, because all they know about this person is that he's a joke, never took anything serious for himself, and so why is he going to be serious about anything now? So for that self-image, I want you to think about yourself and what you want to be. Like, if you were playing a video game and you could build this character from however you wanted, you picked different characteristics specifically the way that you wanted, I want you to do that for yourself. If you're looking at yourself from a third-person perspective, from an outside perspective, from somebody else's eyes, what do you want them to think of you as? What would you want to look at yourself as? In the future, what do you want to become? Like, what are you working towards as a person? What is your self-image? Because if you don't have a self-image, then maybe you won't chase anything, and maybe you will be that person that isn't taken serious because you don't care what your image is. You don't care what people perceive you as. Or maybe you do care, but you don't know how to get there. But I think we should care about that a little bit. Some people we can't change. Some people just have a bad mindset. They're going to think of you as whatever they think of you, and that's that. If somebody's racist, they're not going to care how good of a person you are. They're just going to think of you as something because that's just their stereotype of like thinking about people. So it doesn't matter. Like, some people you just can't. But for the most part, if you are trying to level up your life, more than likely you're going to meet people that actually need to know you before they trust you or want you around. And so you have to give off that impression, that good first impression, or you have to at least build a self-image so then that character in that person's head is known as who you actually are or are trying to become. I had a conversation about this a couple years ago now, and it was exactly that. I was like, what is your vision for yourself? Because if you don't even have a vision for yourself, you are going to forever chase something and never get there. Like, I can tell you, I want to do something with cars. I don't know what it is, but I want to do something with cars. At one point, I wanted a YouTube channel about cars, a car vlogging channel. Now I'm chasing this podcast while I'm driving, so a car-themed podcast. I'm an automotive, just like gearhead, where like everything I know is automotive. But also now I'm pursuing this day trading thing, which I'm getting, like, that's my image more online, where I'm like day trading. But also I'm trying to like shove cars in there because I like both of them. And so I'm trying to build this image for myself online where it's just like cars and trading and a little bit of motivation, because you need that. But if you ask anybody that I grew up with, they'll tell you Eddie's just kind of weird. He's just kind of quiet. He kind of just keeps to himself. I mean, he makes weird comments sometimes. Sometimes when he speaks up, it's like, it's just something, I don't know, like, just like completely random, out of the ordinary. But that's what they knew me as. Like, I was growing up, I was developing my character. And now it's like, do they come and look for me? No, because they don't need me. unless it's like really car related. I've had people reach out to me that I haven't talked to in years. They're like, hey dude, I have this issue with my car. I was wondering if you could come look at it. Or I've gotten messages where people are trying to screw me over, or like they think I'm still as stupid as I was growing up, to where they could take advantage of me to sell me their stupid product that they're trying to sell so that they can make a profit. That's why sometimes you outgrow people. Sometimes you outgrow friends. Sometimes you outgrow just like relationships. Sometimes you just outgrow your environment. And so you should move out of your hometown and build your own perspective, your own self-image in somebody else's head, in more groups of people's head, or like an online platform or whatever. You should break out of that box that you were put in growing up and then build something for yourself. But again, it's like, if you have a poor self-image, if the personality you're putting out is going to give people a bad perspective about you, then obviously you don't really want to put anything out there if you want good things to be said about you, or a good image about you in other people's head. I really don't care that people say that either I was quiet, I was shy, I was just like a little like odd, because I mean, I am. I never fit the crowd. I never fit in with the crowd. I always kind of stood out. But honestly, any time that I did find my group of people, it's like we were just so linked and so connected, and like it was just like, it worked. I didn't have to try and fit in with the crowd, nor did I want to try and fit in with the crowd. I wanted to find my group of people. I wanted to find like-minded people. I wanted to find people that had the same maybe passions, or at least the same mindset. Maybe we didn't chase the same things, but we at least had the same ambition of growth, or wanted to be better, or the same passions, or the same ideas, the same respect for each other. I never cared about, oh, here's the mass of people, let me try and shove myself in there and get those people to like me. It's like, no, let's build our own group to where we all know that we're cool with each other. And like, that's always been like my thing. And so again, for like the crowd idea, I've never really cared for it. I never really cared. And if somebody wants to talk badly about you, like I said, you can't change that. You can't change how somebody thinks about you, but at least that first impression and what somebody's going to initially know you as, you can change. That usually only comes through first time meeting, or maybe through like a long distance where it's just like, I still think of this person this way. I still think they're weird. I still think they're solid. I still think that they're just whatever. And like, then you meet up with them and they're just gonna have that perspective of you. And so like, again, like for what? And then I think that's why, like, when you're chasing something to prove someone wrong, it's that toxic fuel is good for a while to like get that gear going, but it should eventually burn out, because that is not the right energy. You are still trying to prove something to somebody that has that perspective of you that is not necessarily who you are. And so why are you chasing? Why are you pushing so hard to push against a narrative that you can't control? Because somebody just has a bad personal image of you. Their perspective of you is not who you are. So why work so hard against that to try and prove that person wrong? It's unnecessary. How about instead you work on changing yourself and know that that's one person out of the billions of people in the world, and out of the millions that maybe you'll meet. That one person doesn't really matter, and that you can start over by meeting somebody else and making sure that the perspective that they have of you when you meet them coming up in your life is a lot better than the people that you've met in your past. So how do we build that perspective? How do we make sure that when we meet people, that perspective that they have from us, that first impression, that personal image that they have from us, is that we want? It's simply, you build your character, or you have that idea in your head first of what you want to be, and then work towards it little by little. What does that person do on a day-to-day basis? How does that person carry themselves? What things does that person do on a day-to-day basis to become that, to be thought of like that, to have that, like, to be that? I can tell you that growing up, I always wanted to be known for cars, but also I always wanted to not fit in, but always be known as a really resourceful person. I always wanted to be that guy where it's just like, why is he like that? Like where did this come from? Like, how did he build all this? He used to be a nothing, a nobody, like a weirdo or a whatever. Like, I don't care what perspective people have of me as growing up, but when they see me again, I want them to be like, what the heck happened? This is not the person that I knew, and this is not the person that I expect, and they shouldn't be this person because of what I know of them. That's always what I wanted. Growing up, that's exactly who I wanted to be. Just like a completely outcasted, like, I guess that like Sigma male kind of like person, where it's just like, I don't talk to nobody keeps up with me, nobody like checks up on me to see how I'm doing. But when they do end up finding me or whatever, when we do end up like meeting again, it's like how the heck did you do this? You used to not be this at all. For the good, right? Not a negative. I mean, you used to be such a good kid, now you're a drug addict. That's not what I'm chasing for, right? Again, growing up, I was like, I want to be known for like cars, but also I want to be rich when I'm older. I want to be resourceful. I want to be smart. I want people to look at me and like have some kind of respect of like, I mean, he's not what I expected out of him. That's what I want. That's what I want, is that he is not what he should be, because he was not this that I knew of growing up. And so now the image that I want in people's head is, for the most part, I give good advice. When I say something, it is true. When I tell somebody something, it has meaning. When I'm around, just know that like I handle things, like I can take care of things. When you give me something, know that you can trust me with it. On Monday or Tuesday, when I went back to work, my superintendent, my higher up, the person I report to, he's like, I'm glad you came back this year. Thank you for coming back. I really appreciate you being here because you're really good help. And thank you for coming back. And I'm like, yeah, thank you for bringing me back. I enjoy being here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to this year. And he's just like, why? Like, wait, why? I'm just like, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. He's like, it's a good place to be, right? And I'm just like, yes, I like it. And I like my position. I like what I'm doing. I like that I'm able to help people. I like that everybody kind of looks up to me, because they know that I'm either given the task or I'm given the overall task for the day. I know how to execute it. I know how to handle like everybody and make sure that everybody does what they're supposed to. And I mean, again, I can carry that really well, and people respect me for that, and they like me for that. And maybe they talk badly about me behind my back. Maybe they have something bad here and there to say about me, because that's just how people are. But at least like the main perspective of me is like, that is the number one guy. Like if you have a question, go to him. You don't have to go to the boss that's kind of a dick. You can go to Eddie. He's really chill and he'll tell you. Like, exactly that. That's what I want people to look at me as at work. And then outside of work, same thing. It's like, oh, you have a problem with your car, go to Eddie. Eddie's really resourceful. He'll explain things to you so you understand it. And he just makes it simple and easy. Same thing with like relationship advice. It's like, oh, you're having this problem. Well, Eddie gave me this advice. Eddie's kind of smart about this. Or every time I talk to Eddie about this, or about this topic, he usually gives me good answers. And I mean, or at least he makes sense of something that I'm doing wrong, or at least he's honest about it, and it makes me rethink about my actions. And so I change that. I think everybody wants that perspective of like, that guy's just solid. He's not weird. He's not stupid. He's not anything like negative, like, or she. I think nobody wants that. But I truly want it to the point where I really think about it, and it's like, what do I need to do for people to think of me like that? For one, is don't make myself look stupid. Don't make stupid comments to where people like, they'll remember that. They'll remember those moments. Those will be like the highlights. They'll remember those moments where it's just like that one time that he said something weird, like it'll just pop up in their mind every time they say something to you. And that's what I mean by like that self-image in somebody else's head, that perspective they have of you. Is like, they'll remember that one time that he said something really stupid and out of place and be like, well, like, why the heck did he say that? Like, that's what makes him weird. You can do that with good things as well. Like, for example, last year, long story short, we were trying to put this fitting into a plastic pipe. You got to heat up the pipe so it melts, so it stretches over the fitting. And everybody was trying to lift up the whole piece instead of taking off the fitting. It was a simple 2-clip to pull off. It was a huge heavy fitting. It was like 4 of us trying to put this thing on. And then where my higher up was like, all right, this is the last try that we got this, or else we got to start all over and put a new pipe. And I'm just like, and so I stop and look at it for a second. I'm just like, what if we just take that off from there? And like, everybody looks at each other for a second, and they're just like, yeah, why not just do that? Yeah, that we could do that. Yeah, that's a good idea. And then it's just like, and then from there forth, it's like, again, people trusted me. They trusted me with like my thoughts or ideas, because it's like I took a step back for a second before like continuing doing the same thing that we were doing, that insanity. Insanity, again, definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and hoping that it works. So that's what we're doing. And so I took a step back. I said, let me think about this. Let me see if we can actually pull this off and then do it a smarter way, do it an easier way, a way that maybe this time it will work. That's what I did. Again, in that moment, everybody was so focused on getting the fitting on that, and I took a step back for a second. It just took me 2 seconds to look at it and be like, well, we could take this apart. We don't have to do this the hard way. And so I feel like those little moments, those like micro moments where you come in, you're either a superhero or you're the stupidest person in the world, that will make or break that self-image that other people have of you, that perspective that people have of you. Again, I wanted to be known as a car guy. I wanted to be known as resourceful. I wanted to be known as useful. And so I learn as much as possible. Anytime I need help with something, I almost try to do it myself first and then look to outsource it if I can't figure it out. But a majority of the time, there have been very few times where I have not been able to figure something out. There have been very few times where I have to go to somebody and say, can you do this for me? Because I really can't do it. Very few times. And it is because I do not give up until I get it done the way that I want it done. Because nobody else is going to do it the way that you want it done. With all my cars, anytime something's wrong and I need it fixed, I try my best. I do as much research as possible. I try to understand what I'm getting myself into, and then I get into that process slow and steadily. If something goes wrong, I try and correct it. I do correct it. If something doesn't go the way that I thought it would, I would take a step back. I'd rethink about what I'm doing, go over everything that I learned, see if I missed a step, and then continue. Because more than likely I did. Sometimes you gotta improvise, but other times, for the most part, it's like somebody put this together, somebody built this, so their head eventually came to a conclusion of this is how it should work. All you need to do is follow the steps of what they created. And then once you get it down, it's simple. You take an engine apart once, you will understand how it works, and then it's simple. But before you take that step in thinking about taking it apart, it's so intimidating. You take the engine apart, you will understand how it works, and then it's simple. And that goes with almost anything. I've been an electrician as well. Wiring, it seems so complicated. It seems kind of scary and intimidating. But once you figure out that at the end of the day, the wire just goes from one end to the other to signal one thing or another. And so something's wrong over here. The power is fine here, but it's not over there. So there's got to be a break somewhere in between. It's just that simple. Dealing with people, a little bit harder. Relationships, friendships, dealing with people in business, trying to get partners, trying to get clients, trying to make that work. That's a little bit more complicated because now you're dealing with somebody's somebody's baby that they've built. If you're just trying to date, it's like you're entering somebody's life, in their emotional life, but also their whole life in general. You're not just going to let anybody in and call it a relationship and say, this is the person that I choose to be with. It's like, you got to think about these things. What are they going to benefit me for? How am I going to benefit them? Are they going to take advantage of me? Hopefully you're not trying to take advantage of nobody, but hopefully you're at least like, how can I help them? And how could they help me in return? And make that a partnership to where we get along really well, but also we help each other really well. Because if you don't have that, then I think then what's the point of the relationship? There's the love languages of like, something is reciprocated. One person likes touch, the other one likes time of service. So it's like you can reciprocate that, and like for each other, that's what you do really well for each other, and so that makes a good relationship. But if your love language is gift and you get services, I mean, they sound pretty close. Somebody's doing something for you, but you like gifts, you like things, that's just your love language. And so you might get along with a person, but you won't be that compatible because they can't fit that love language that you're looking for. But at first, you have to start with the idea. You have to know what kind of person you want to be. You think of Elon Musk, you're going to think of rockets, you're going to think of Tesla, you're going to think of all the crazy things he's doing, you're going to think of billionaire, you're going to think, and it's like, yeah, because he is that. That's the person that he's become. Okay, do you want to be like that? Okay, so like you could take that as a model of how to build that. You got to do your technology, your Starlink, your cars or whatever. Like you got to figure out your own, but you at least have a model. You want to be a solid person that people come to for things. It's like, well, what do you want people to come to you for? And when they come to you, you have to be solid about it. You have to be resourceful. You have to be useful. You have to be right as well, because you can't give somebody advice and be wrong, because that's the last time they're going to trust you with that. I think we should think about that perspective, that self-perspective, that self-image. We should think about that. Those are things that we should be working on, because you don't want to build the wrong self-image and be a completely different person. You don't want people to think of you as crazy when you're completely sane. You don't want people thinking of you as a depressing, really annoying person to be around when you're actually a really joyful person. You don't want people thinking of you as a loser when in all honesty, you've got all these other things on the back end that you're working on that you're hiding. And if that's what you're going for, fair game, that's what you're going for. But if you want people to think of you as like what you're building, then build that personality. And again, if you're around a group of people that think of you a certain way, and it's because you grew up with them or you've been around them too long, or you've changed as a person, but they still treat you as that, then you need to break out of that box. You need to break out of that handful of people that treat you that way, because you don't need that anymore. You can't have that negativity or that perspective put on you anymore, because you're trying to grow and change as a person. So why allow yourself to be in an environment that keeps you in that old person that you were mindset? There was a thing I watched on Instagram the other day, and it was, when you start making a little bit of money, buy that dream car, buy that dream watch. You need to level up your character. The analogy they used was, if you're playing a video game, how do you expect to beat the game without leveling up your character, without upgrading your character? You can't. You can't go fight the final boss with the first sword that you started the game with. You have to upgrade all the armory, all the shield, all the weapons, you have to learn new fighting skills, you have to learn new strategies. It's like you can't go beat the final boss with the very first weapon you started with. And so it's the same thing in life. You can't upgrade your life with the same group of people that you started with, because unless they really want to see you change, they are going to hold that perspective of you in their mind. I'm going to leave you guys with that. And if you don't think about your personal image that much, you probably should if you want to build something. If you want people to respect you or hold you to a certain level, or hold you to a certain respect, or hold you to a certain character, hold you to a certain person, you need to think about that. And if people look at you a certain way that you don't want them to, maybe it's time to change the group of people that you're around.